So my task is very simple here to many of them talk about this heritage, particular reference to Pondicherry. But as a town planner, which I am trying to see the heritage as a building, as a location, as a settlement, as a region. So it goes on. It's not that one isolated building. So first thing is, let me make you to understand that the heritage buildings or heritage sites, which is more into the social from the field of sociology. I'm trying to say that it is the cultural and the heritage sites, which are the expression of the past and the present, the way of life of the community who is living as the community which you visit there. It is a place of learning, experience of the past and the present. It is the interaction between the visitors in terms of the objects, ideas, which is present in the spot. So to speak about the heritage, which is the places made out of various spaces. You mean to that the space transformed into places. For example, we make the places in our house. You put a dining table and then there is a place for eating. So we remove that and put a bed and then it's a place for sleeping. So we make the space into places. It's also very much true in the case of the heritage, because the pictures, telling stories in the book, how these spaces are made into places, very rich places, which is still exist, or sometime maybe we can think about the modernization, replace these spaces into other places where the younger generation may not get a chance to see the heritage. So it is a very social, it is a very important to understand it is the social importance of this heritage. And secondly, I move on to the next aspect, which we talk about the planning, which is about the spatial planning, because we need to see that how the physical planning is going to help in conserving and improving the quality of these spaces. So that means you have the heritage buildings, which is the site, which is the settlement, because nowadays we look at that heritage conservation, heritage development is given to some agency. It is their job, it's not everybody's job. So now we have to look into this, into the question of the heritage places which exist in a place, in a city, now getting under transformation. The people who visit, the people who stay in the place, they got the attachment, they have the sense of belonging to the place, and they try to protect it. When now the modernization and the development, the urbanization, there's coming into the city center and the core areas wherever you have all the historic buildings where have been occupied by another generation who is coming inside with no attachment. So the transformation is very fast. So where we have to look into that, how this spatial transformation because of the succession of the community in these areas. So this is what taking place is many of the cities and towns, including Pondicherry, where you can see the transformation is quite fast. Shut down the building, going for modern elevated buildings and glass buildings. So that's what one you can think about the heritage areas in cities like Ahmedabad, where some of you are aware of that, the poles, which is the historical areas of living, where they have a common courtyard with everybody come and interact, and also the underground of the common courtyard is the storage of water. There are a lot of environmental and social importance in terms of the poles. Now you can go and see the historical city area in Ahmedabad. There are many poles have been converted into modern urban neighborhoods. And the similar case with Delhi also, one can see about the katras, they call it as katras, wherever the traditional neighborhoods, where the social and environmental importance. Now some of the katras have been preserved to show that this is a history. The people go there as a tourist and see that these are certain things are existing today. So that's the way we look at that. It is the place, it is in terms of a settlement, and at the same time one can say that it is also the third point which I have to highlight is, it is the communication, it is the interpretation, because a site, a historic site, is a visitor who come in interface with the interpretation set in front of the monuments or inside the monuments. That is also very important, because of sometimes the interpretation is carried away by the visitors and that stay in their minds and they remember that. So that interpretations, and many often the interpreters trying to see that how authentic the information provided. So there's a conflict sometimes. So it has been sometimes is given wrong, sometimes it is given exaggerated, sometimes it is given very factual. So the interpretation, which is information, which is more important because of heritage carries the identity, it carries the culture, it carries the past, it carries the the value of the society, the value of the people. So it is very important to see that the communication, it is an information. Then I would like to also highlight there are certain things happening in modern way of development in planning. As an example, the UNESCO experience has been said by one of the panel member here. I've been trying to see that how to support the governments and the people to be more into the conservation activities. And I see that even the Asian Development Bank also, so they have developed in the urban core areas of the Asian cities with a lot of programs and talking about revitalization of the historical urban core. It's a part of the urban development strategy. So it has been introduced by the Asian Development Bank. And also they are also trying to say that revitalization of historic places. It's not that they're trying to say that revitalization is just only go on, demolish the building and go for a new one, or rebuild one, but it's readjust. They're trying to say that how to make environmental and economic improvement in the local area where the identity is kept. And also they're trying to say that how we can see that a new development in surrounding areas go with the traditional development which enhance the tourism development. A very classical example in India, we all know about JNNURM project. It's a very big, massive project undertaken by the ministry. And there's a lot of development we can see. There are air-conditioned buses are there in Pondicherry, in Chennai, in many places. This is the outcome of the JNURM. But also the main task of the JNURM also trying to say how we redevelop the inner city area. But I don't know how many cities are benefited from that. When the idea is mooted to ask for the cities and towns to give the projects, they all gone into the submitting proposals for water supply, drainage system, development of communications and bus transport. But I don't see that anybody taken interest into this conservation element of it. I don't know. One has to go and see that so much crores of rupees spent on the JNURM, how many cities are benefited in terms of conservation? So it still is a question mark.
Thank you.
So that's what which I try to see, that the question of conservation is it's not somebody's job, it's everybody's job. It's the local community should be involved in terms of the conservation of the historical buildings. Thank you very much.
Ajit, you'd like to add something more on this topic of what is special about Pondicherry's heritage and why?
I really don't know where to begin, and I think what is nice is that a lot of people have said wonderful things about Pondicherry, and I agree with most of them. And just I want to keep it very brief because we're getting late for the cocktails. And for me, that there is the tangible and the intangible heritage, as we all know, and city and the architecture, the streets, the places, the buildings, these are the backdrops for an evolving society. Because this city, which has been there, or let's take other cities even better preserved elsewhere in the world, they have always played a stage to the cultural development. And though we have these special characteristics which make the streets in Pondicherry, which are very simple buildings with similar characters, architectural characters, but no two buildings are same. So this kind of an atmosphere is very important for the future development. I mean, we can evolve our society. It doesn't mean that we have to discard our architectural setting or our architectural heritage to become modern. And I think now what I would like to say is that I want to thank Sebastian for his book, because a lot of buildings are being lost. We have nearly lost half the listed buildings in the last 15 years, and the picture you see there displayed with the red floor, it's no more. So I think on the one hand, it's nice to have this book because it shows the beauty of Pondicherry, but I'm afraid that this will just become a record of what was, and I think that's what we have to try to prevent from happening by taking more interest in preserving this town. There have been some moves by the government, like setting up the Heritage Committee and then pulling through the Asia Herbs project and many other initiatives. But what one can say is that a far more needs to be done, and I think it is on the anvil, but unless we are proactively pushing and working towards it, it can become forgotten, because there are many other urgent issues that face the government, the people, and everything else. Now, I think I would like to see, I mean, I'm not really a good talker about these things, but then if somebody has any questions, I'll try to answer.
I think there should be a discussion and debate whether there should be, what we should do hereafter, what are the challenges, and so if anyone has anything to add in terms of why Pondicherry is special, and if anyone has to add anything additional to what has already been said, okay. And please keep it brief, because I think we'll get into this discussion after that.
We discussed quite a lot about French architecture and its harmonious blending with Tamil architecture in Pondicherry, how it should be preserved, how awareness should be created among the people, and so on. We had a lot of discussion on this. Now there is another aspect of the Pondicherry heritage which has a strong French cultural heritage influence, as well as there is a French character in every aspect of our day-to-day life in Pondicherry. Matthew Samuel has mentioned about it. That gentleman also. Coming to that point, I want to say there are two aspects about how the French rule in Pondicherry for 3 centuries has influenced the people, which makes the feelings and French culture among the people being sustained even today, in spite of not our making much efforts about it. Because there are two aspects I want to say about French democracy and the French diplomacy. What amount of influence they have on the the Pondicherry people here and Pondicherry heritage. Unlike the other colonial powers in India, like British and Portuguese, French ruled Pondicherry as they ruled their own country. Liberty, equality, and fraternity. That is why French people also were getting very close to the population of French territory here, Pondicherry territory here. And they were feeling so free, and they were breathing democracy, liberty, equality, and fraternity. That is one aspect of it. It's a tribute to the French democracy, and they ruled Pondicherry the same way they ruled France. People got freedom after fighting, after bloodshed, with violence, and so on. Whereas in Pondicherry, that it was because of the democracy we were enjoying here, that people had the freedom to have a referendum and then chose to merge with their motherland. That's what they have done it. Because when you take about the Pondicherry system of democracy here, at the apex level there was government, and the lower level that it called ethos civil, and that they were having
okay, I think we got your point.
Elected mayors, they were giving that people have that able to enjoy the freedom.
Can you just tell me briefly about the point, because we have a lot of other points to take up.
No, when we actually,
you already told about these 2 points.
When we had the freedom, but to the Treaty of Cession,
yeah,
Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru told that Pondicherry will continue to be the window of French culture. That's why we are here today.
Thank you, sir. I think Aster would like to say something. Please keep it brief, so that just tell the key points.
It will be even more brief than you desire it to be. I've greatly enjoyed some of the very fine perceptions that have been put forward about Pondicherry. I'd just like to say it's a place, an idea, where the world has come home to rest. The Pondicherry, whoever comes here from around the world feels it's home. What makes it home? It's the atmosphere. The fact that great beings have lived here for a century. And around them, other beings have come from all over the world who have lived here, who have walked the streets, dreamed great thoughts, worked for a lifetime. that is what that's the intangible atmosphere which draws people here. And I know people around the world, even if they can't come here for decades, the very word Pondicherry, Puducherry hasn't caught on in the same manner. Pondicherry is like a dream. It's like something, it's like an aspiration for something very far off. But to know that it has a geographical site on earth somewhere, that gives you a sense of comfort, that it exists. Second, I loved what Akash said, that there is a very unique kind of cosmopolitan flavor to this life. I've lived here all my life since I was 6 years old, so I should know something about it, and I've also traveled around the world. You know, in a small place, the kind of interesting, creative and fabulous people in so many different areas of life that you have in Pondicherry, in the town, of course around the ashram, and now in Auroville. I have not seen big cities like Paris or London or New York have a grouping like that. There you would take a week to have an appointment and meet somebody. Here you walk 5 minutes and you are there. I mean, to me it's like the old Greek city-states where we don't realize what people we have here. You know, it's like the old city-states, the past, but that moves into the future. A blend where the past is creating the future with Auroville nearby. Now that situation you don't find anywhere in the world.
It's very true that
Thank you very much for sharing this, and I hope with the efforts of everyone present, events of this kind will grow and bring more people together. Thank you.
it's very true that people living here or people who visit this place feel that this place is very special, and sometimes you can't even express what is so special about it because it's something much deeper. And I think Mr. Vasudev Raju would like to.
Thank you very much. I will take a few minutes to mention a salient points. A lot of discussion is taking place on the buildings and spaces. I will concentrate on practices. Now you talk about Aadhaar card in India, lot of confusion in that. But Pondicherry heritage is when a child is born in the hospital, within 3 days it should be registered. When a person is dead, that also should be registered in the municipality, and they should take the certificate along with the dead body to bury it or burn it. So this maintained exact data on the population as on date. But this is not available anywhere in the country. It is available in France. This has to be popularized. Most people are ignorant of this fact. Secondly, the house numbers on the roads, even numbers on one side, odd numbers on the other side. This is also a heritage. Then social, cultural heritage. When a dead body is taken on the road, everybody going in the cycle or in the vehicle stops. I have seen it in 1971. I am here from 1971 as director of the pilot research project in growth centers. My study area profile documents many of these things. And everybody stops on the road, and after the dead body moves that spot only they get up. That culture is now gone, is not publicized. I wish somebody brings out a booklet which will mention all these things in snippets and distribute it to the population who are not aware of it. Then the panchayat system, the commune system in France is really wonderful. Now the political heritage is not maintained. The wonderful government here, for reasons best known, they have changed the name of the head of the local government from mayor to chairman. What is wrong in maintaining it as mayor? Nobody raises the voice. I have been raising the voice to maintain the commune system and planning system. These are some of the things. And I feel that in addition to talking about the physical heritage, buildings and spaces, practices and customs which are forgotten, which are not observed, they should be highlighted. And if a Pondicherry wants to maintain its distinct culture and name, it should be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's some wonderful things you have said which I don't think people think about. So thank you very much. Anybody else would like to say anything about?
I have the mic over here,
Yeah.
Prabir.
Yes, Bankem.
Very quick, because I also need a
Yes.
drink. So I just wanted to bring this as one of the challenges that we're looking at is the heritage of Pondicherry.
You're talking about the challenge, or you're talking about?
It's everything. It's everything. I
Okay,
think.
then it's okay. Thank you. We are moving on to the next topic, which is the challenge.
Yeah, that's it. The challenge.
Thank you.
So one of the things we keep on talking about in the Pondicherry Heritage Town, and we see, is the French Quarter, and that works. In my opinion, is because of the large landowners and everything that we have over here. But as soon as we move on to the other side of the canal and the Tamil Quarter starts, we're facing a different challenge altogether, and that Ajit and I have had a discussion about that a number of times. Is that we're looking at the property developers over there, or the private property owners. So that's one thing that I would like everyone to just think about while they're having a drink, is as to what can we do to make sure that the Tamil Quarter and the French Quarter keeps on extending. The heritage quality that we're talking about extends beyond the boulevard town also. That's it.
Thank you. Ajit, you want to respond to that?
No, not really, because actually it's a very, very vast topic. And then what makes me really happy is that so many people are interested in this. And then I think we have to see as a next strategy, which is the next step.
We are talking
Perception
about
to
the challenge
action.
now. We are talking about the challenge. So,
Yeah,
do you face any
exactly.
challenge in this?
Yes, I think we have to get the government to work with us more closely and more proactively to protect the architectural heritage, which is somehow is really an important element in heritage in all its various aspects. And probably also this town deserves to try to be on the UNESCO list. And I think Indrajit can say something, and this could be something like an aim or a goal which could animate not only people here but also those who are not here for various reasons. If we can take our efforts of preserving the heritage to the next step, where we bring it to another standard, where things become much more let's say real, because we are sort of dabbling in heritage protection, but then from dabbling from kindergarten we have to go to another level where we do it much more comprehensively, which is not just buildings but also the environment, the traffic, the waste management and lighting. All these aspects will add to something where we can go into preserving a precinct or on a city level. I think none of Indian cities are as yet on the UNESCO World Heritage List. We could be one of the first ones. I think Ahmedabad is trying now, and there are one or two other, New Delhi. But then New Delhi has another perspective of being on the UNESCO list. But then as a precinct, I think we have a good chance. Maybe with the help of the French and the others, we could at least try for it.
So you're actually talking about the solution now, that we should actually get it declared as a.
No, it's
UNESCO
not a
heritage
solution,
site.
because nothing is really a solution till it happens.
No, I mean, we are
It's
talking about a
still-
challenge.
yes.
We're talking about the challenges. So as far as the challenges are concerned, you're saying the garbage and traffic issues need to be addressed, because people come here to see heritage and they are facing the problems of garbage and traffic, etc., which need to be taken up. Okay, so I think this is a point which we need to also look into. Brahma.
Yeah, just to counter what Ajit said, I don't think it's a very good idea to go for UNESCO certification. I see what's happening in some other Asian countries. I've just come back from Lijiang a few months back in China. I've been to Hoi An in Vietnam. I see these cities have become heritage cities, and somehow they lost some of it, because the governments look at it from a different perspective. They just look at it as a commercial commodity. If you make it heritage site, then it'll bring in more money. Okay? And that's the only aspect that is looked by governments. Unless we are mature enough to look at all other aspects. And we have had very wonderful recitation of what Pondicherry could be. We don't want to have something which is just a showcase. We have to understand what the site is, what it can bring us. And if we develop in a different way, and that requires certain maturity. I don't think we have it now. So that's one of the biggest challenge. How do you bring that maturity so that everybody understands how to preserve the heritage? I won't take more time. I think that's something that we can discuss more in detail. Not just by putting a label to it. We need to look at how we really can make a place different. Heritage is nice. We can be nostalgic about it. But unless we also bring in something different, we are modernizing. How do you marry the best of the past with the best of today so that we can come up with something better in future?
Okay. I think our UNESCO person would like to respond to that.
Well, I guess, Brahmanand, you are making a point that it's not for heritage status site that one goes for heritage status. But for every one site you show me which has lost something, I'll show you about 200 sites which have gained a lot. So I don't think the discussion lies there. The discussion lies in the premise that on the one hand, this recognition will create greater awareness about Pondicherry. Maybe governments will be forced, in many cases they have had to make greater effort. But this is also, I would say, not something you go for immediately. And on that front, I agree with you. This is something which we set our sights on, probably in the mid to long term, get our act together, find out what requires to be done to make sure that it's worthy of being a heritage town, and then move towards that. So I would partially agree with you and partially not.
I'd like to say something.
Yes.
Yeah, I just actually want to second what Brahma has said. And I think maybe the government needs to think a little more about the residents and not just about the tourism. I think that's one thing which we never talk about. We are constantly trying to attract tourists, give special loans so that more hotels can mushroom every month. But we never think what's happening, what's the traffic jam on Sunday evening on the beach road, and what is actually being done. I was just kind of trying to think if we have anything here for contemporariness that the government has talked till today. I don't think. We might say Auroville is futuristic. I would like to know what are the futuristic plans of Pondicherry. So I would like to say what Sebastian was saying, that we really need to think from the traditional restoration to the contemporaneity and modernity. That transition is one aspect that I feel is absolutely played down. And well, heritage, as Ajit said, is the backdrop. Then what's happening in the center stage? I'd like to ask. Thank you.
I think you've raised two issues. One is that we should put people before profits. We are talking about economics more than the comforts of the people. And the other point you raised was carrying capacity. The certain area can only carry that many people, but what's happening is because of all these hotels and other things, we are having more people than the space can handle. So these are issues which we would take, we'll note down so that I hope it gets recorded that, we have this issue of carrying capacity.